my name is Christina Wardell, and I will be presenting my case study about a 5-year-old student named Haley who has a language impairment, and I will be focusing on a lesson about learning about magnets. I'll start off with my case study about Haley, who is a 5-year-old girl who attends kindergarten. She demonstrates a mild to moderate receptive language disorder and a moderate expressive language disorder. She has been diagnosed with a specific language disorder and does not have any other disabilities. She lives with her mother, father, and older sister, and her mother has a family history of language impairments, which is the probable cause for Haley's receptive and expressive language disorder. Haley's receptive language is characterized by limited semantic skills, difficulty comprehending age-appropriate linguistic concepts, and difficulty understanding orally presented material. She demonstrates difficulty identifying age-appropriate adjectives, nouns, and verbs given orally, and she benefits greatly from visual support such as written words and pictures. When visuals are present, Haley's performance is consistently more accurate. Her expressive language is characterized by limited semantic and syntactic skills. She uses some age-appropriate nouns, and she demonstrates difficulty organizing her thoughts to produce grammatically complete sentences, including proper verb tense, vocabulary, and function words. The teacher will ask a lot of who, what, where, when questions to Haley individually, and she benefits from having time to think about her answer in order to process it first and then organize her response. So I'll be using a few different strategies throughout the lesson to address the needs of Haley and other students with disabilities in the classroom. So I'll start off with my lesson entitled Learning About Magnets. The first thing at the beginning of the lesson to pique the interest of all of the students is to start with a KWL chart. I will hold up a magnet and ask students what they already know about magnets, where they might have seen them in their everyday lives and what they might be used for. So I'll have a piece of chart paper displayed with what the students already know about magnets, and I will record their responses. Students will be raising their hands to participate at this part of the lesson. Before the lesson begins, I will also go over to Haley and tell her that we're going to be discussing magnets and ask her if she knows anything about them. That way it gives her time before the lesson even begins to start thinking about what her response could be. And then I will give her enough time to formulate her response and then participate in the general classroom. I will use that time delay strategy as described in our textbook about how students will be given time to think about their response and organize it. Then I will also ask students what they want to know about magnets so that it kind of engages them in their learning and gets them excited about what they're going to be learning in the lesson. So then during my whole group instruction to present this new concept and skill, I will read the story called Magnets Push, Magnets Pull by David A. Adler. Throughout this book, there are prompts for testing certain objects against a magnet, talking about what magnets do and why it works, because objects have iron and steel in it, which attracts objects to magnets. In the story, it talks about, oh, does a tin can stick to a magnet? Why? So I will have the objects that are in the book readily available, and throughout the story, I will ask students to come up and use a magnet and then test that object to see if it's magnetic or not magnetic. Students will be participating, and then we will be organizing the different objects with pictures and the words on the board as magnetic and non-magnetic. I will have pictures displayed so that students understand what the word magnetic means. So in this case, the paperclip is sticking to the magnet. It's attracted to the magnet, which means that it is magnetic. So all objects that stick to the magnet are going to be on this side. And then not magnetic, I have a pencil that is being repelled by the magnet, and then all those objects will be on this side of the chart, which will be displayed for the whole class. And then it will help them while they're working in partners in the next part of my lesson, because they will be able to refer to this if they forget, oh, what does magnetic mean? They can see right there that it's when an object is attracted or sticks to the magnet. Throughout this part, I will be asking questions like, why is the tin can attracted to the magnet? Does the piece of paper attract the magnet? Why or why not? So having these visuals will help students as well. Then for the guided practice of my lesson, students will be split into partners and will get a magnet and a bin of different objects that they will be testing against the magnet, as well as the same chart that was displayed while we were reading the story. In partners, students will take turns testing an object with the magnet to determine if it's magnetic or not magnetic, and I will encourage interaction through conversation, which is stated in our textbook as really important to have students take turns and initiate meaningful conversations with their peers. So students will have those rich conversations about, is the object magnetic? And having sentence stems displayed as well for, how do you know it's magnetic? Why is it magnetic? Why or why not? So that will allow students with communication impairments and all of the other students to engage in meaningful, rich conversations with their peers. Then during the independent practice, I will have students then work independently and use what they learned about what objects were classified as magnetic and which objects were not magnetic, and use that knowledge to independently fill out a summative assessment, which includes the object, and I put a picture of each object just in case students have trouble identifying what the word means just by reading it. So they'll also have the visual, and then just either coloring in if they think that object is magnetic or not magnetic using their prior knowledge. This will kind of remind students that magnetic means that it's sticking and not magnetic means it's not. So just having a separate visual for them to use. So this will be the way that I kind of check for understanding in my lesson and determine whether students are understanding if they got the point of the lesson about what magnetic means and how they know. In closing of my lesson, we'll refer back to the KWL chart and ask students what they learned about magnets throughout the lesson, so filling in that last part. And then as an extension, I will have students, if they're done early, have them prior to the lesson bring in an object from home and test that magnet with the object that they brought from home to see if it's magnetic or not magnetic. I will also be providing some accommodations throughout my lesson, like I described, like having visuals and sentence starters and giving students time to really think about their responses before they answer any of the questions that I pose to the class. And I think that is all. So thanks. Hope you enjoyed.